Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome back, I should say, if you've heard my first podcast. This is my second podcast, and this is Issues. First of all, the name of the podcast or the series is Issues with Toddie One Skip. Me, Toddie One Skip. And this podcast, we're going to talk about issues with the privileged or the entitled. So, I just want to get clear on what I'm talking about because we might have a couple different definitions here of what we consider privileged and or entitled. Let me tell you mine. So that person privileged and or entitled doesn't necessarily have to have any more money than somebody else or be in a position that is culturally different, again, financially different. There's just people of privilege, it's an attitude, right? Everything basically is an attitude. Whatever we present out to the world is who we are. So that attitude of privilege and entitlement. Now some people, and this is who we're going to talk about, are people that are specifically ignorant to the nuisances of everyday life here in the United States of America, and that's what I'm going to talk about. That's where I live. So when I say that, I'm talking about getting out of bed in the morning and getting on with your day and dealing with the many obstacles in our self-serve country. So I'm talking about people that don't have to deal with when the bank calls and says, or they don't even call, all of a sudden you have an overdraft, and where'd my money go? And you need to talk to somebody. You're not able to do the touch tone or the automated person. You have to talk to somebody who's live because that's the only way you could square this away. But it takes about 47 minutes to get to that person. You tell that person the story, you got somebody else. So I'm talking about the person that this happens to, but they get to avoid the BS that goes with clearing things up. So doctor's office leaves you a message when you conveniently just can't answer the phone. And they say, the appointment that we have to change. Please call back and let me know when it's good. They don't give you an alternative appointment. You have to call them back, and they don't give you a direct line. So now you have to deal with getting back with them, fitting into a schedule, and that's all work. There is no more customer care in this country, I believe. I'm talking about the person that is oblivious to that. So whoever that is, that they don't necessarily have to be wealthy. It could be a husband, it could be a wife, it could be a child, it could be a grandchild, it could be anybody that we think we're doing a favor for and therefore making them feel entitled, which that ain't it, man. Don't do that. Don't do that, especially to kids. They have to find self-worth. They work on that. That is not something that you give to a child. You give them confidence, but they have to do the rest, okay? So you're not doing favors there. And as far as, I'm not talking about celebrity, but however, there are a lot of celebrities that are ignorant to how they can live in how they live in this world. When somebody like Kim Kardashian tells people to get off their ass and work, like, wait a minute, those people that are working at McDonald's, they're off their ass working. They're doing the best they can. Their dad wasn't a lawyer that represented who, in my opinion, was a murderer. Everybody's entitled to a fair trial, but own your stuff. So, and I'm not here to bash celebrities in particular because there's everyday people that have receptionists, wives, husbands, children, Girl Fridays, Susan Saturdays, man Mondays do their errands for them, and therefore they don't go through any of the obstacles it is to live day to day in this world. We are challenged every day. The average person is challenged every single day, from the minute they get up till the minute they go to bed, to meet goals, to just be able to get by, to just be able to have some sort of organizational life. So when there is somebody that can do that for you so that you could just appear somewhere, you know, it kind of reminds me of the story of, I believe it was Gandhi. Everybody would clean up the town. And so when Gandhi went out, he never saw any suffering or any litter or anything. And one day he kind of got out on his own and he saw the world as it was, where he lived as it was. He saw despair, he saw cripple, he saw starvation, he saw dirt, he saw filth. So that's what it is to common day privileged or entitled people, and the attitude that they carry when there is a little bit of an obstacle in their way. And that's basically what I kind of want to talk about a little today. So, are you on board? So, the thing about getting through each day and going to bed with your, with hopefully good, healthy thoughts are the stupid struggles that don't beat you down by the time you get to bed. So when you take that away from somebody, or if somebody doesn't have that, those struggles, they result in character building. Who we become, what we're made of, what we, again, show the world. And if you take that away from children, especially young adults, you're not doing any kind of favors, because the world doesn't have like bumper pads anymore, especially now with social media. I mean, your kid, I can't even imagine being a kid today in school. I had enough embarrassing moments where I didn't want to go to school the next day, but to have it now, memorialized for the whole world to see, and then come and get me 20 years later, 20 years from now, I mean, like, that's horrible. You have to be so careful in this world, and that's kind of sad, because we should be able to have embarrassing moments and get beyond them and not have them weaponized by people we don't even know, So, but I'm not trying to get off topic, but in a way, it is the same thing, because if you don't build good character, you can't be a person of good character. So, getting through and not just screaming and yelling at somebody when you don't get, your way. I work, I've done a lot of things in my life. I've had a lot of great positions in my life. And right now, I work in a field with customer care. And it's lacking in this country. I just feel like customer care is gone in this country. And people have not a lot of consideration for other people. And that seems to be this group that I'm talking about, which again is of every color, religion, creed, finances, it doesn't matter. If you don't have good character, that shows. And one of the worst things also, I feel, is that when somebody like that says, Oh yeah, I understand. Man, you don't understand if you haven't. You don't understand me if you haven't gotten your hands dirty. I mean, like literally dirty. If you haven't said to yourself, "Oh man, if my friends could see me now and want to crawl under a rock," then let me tell you something. And it wasn't that there should be anything that I was even ashamed of. It was what I put on myself. So you know, and but that's also paying attention to what's going on. If you haven't, I think that we feel things, but our mind has a way of how we receive it, and therefore what we do after it. So if we just let's just say that we're hurt by somebody and we haven't had many character building skills, we could keep blaming that person and never own our own stuff, and it doesn't do us any favors when we're older in life and we haven't learned anything. You have to kind of be open to learning things, which means you have to kind of pay attention to other people that live among you. And there is just so many people that just don't have the attitude to even think about that, let alone feel it. So don't be the person to say, yeah, I know what it feels like, to somebody that's, pouring their heart out to you or just trying to get something off their mind. You know, I think what everybody's looking for is, and I've said this before, is that we all want to matter. But what we want to hear are words like, what can I do for you? How can I help you? And I'm not talking even about financially. I'm talking about sometimes just being an ear to letting somebody just be. And we don't have to fix everything when they say that. Maybe they're not saying it for that reason. Maybe they're saying it because they just have to. You have to let things out or they fester inside. So, as you know, we've all been on the wrong end of that happening in the wrong way, being yelled at for somebody else's behavior and it just being taken out on us, That we have to stop too. But that's not necessarily about the privilege. Still, it is about the lack of character building skills. So, and the funny thing, and I want to say this, is that we stopped a lot of the customer care, like the bagging of the groceries and the many tellers at the bank and such, because and there were baggers at the grocery store that was their job, and when they had spare time, they would help stock, and then they would collect the carts because there weren't 6 areas in a parking lot for people to put the carts away. Yet the entitled and privileged, they behave like that. Selfish people behave like that. They won't go one step out of their way to make things easier on somebody else when it's part of their responsibility to do it. They just don't think past themselves. So I feel like, I gotta stop saying I feel like. The funny thing is when they got rid of these jobs that had to deal with customer care, we were supposed to see some sort of discount, I guess, because it was bringing the cost down, which would make the retailers and everybody, it would make our cost lower. But I don't see where that ever happened. And again, that goes to what I've said before about if you care more about the dollar amount or if you care more about the human being, the soul. And that plays into this as well, because I think that a lot of the privilege and the entitled, they're obviously very so focused on things that they don't care to see it's very tunnel vision. They don't care to see what's on the sides or the peripherals. And if they do, maybe they don't pay attention to that. I don't think that that's something that you are born with. I think that that is something you are taught, because I think reaction when you see something is to turn and look, and then you internalize it, and it's what you do with it after that. But I think, again, that when something hurts your heart, that isn't something you're taught. That is something that you inherently have. I keep messing up that word, but it's something that you feel. It's not something that you really think on. It's after you feel it that you start rationalizing. And that's where the difference is. Because if you don't interact with people, you can't sympathize with people. You can't really show compassion. You might be able to show in the small group of friends that maybe you have, and in that world, but that is not what is present in this world. There are people of many different, as we know, many different colors, shapes, sizes, wealths, customs, cultures, everything, beliefs, non-beliefs. And I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about wealth. I'm talking about an attitude of not paying attention in the world in which you live in, and helping somebody become that way, or being that person. So you got to kind of look around at people, and you can't judge. We do judge. Listen, we judge. That's what we do in our head. But we have to, because we get feelings, So our head is what says, okay, well, this person's trustworthy. Maybe this person's not. This is the vibe I get. But what we put out there is what we're responsible for. So the attitude as we walk through the world and come into people and is to leave them hopefully with a better impression of us than maybe they had, or them at least think, well, the world's not doing worse because they're in it. You know what I mean? So when there's a lot of people in this country that I'm saying, man, the world would be better maybe if they weren't in it. And, that's a horrible thing to say. I'd be lying if I said something different, though. But I don't want to be one of those people. And we have the ability to be anything that we want. So that simple, stupid little saying, be kind, is really simple, because that's really all we have control over. I have this attitude that you can't go walking through people's lives like a bull in a china shop. You got to pay attention. So that's this week's, or this podcast's issue, is with the privileged or the entitled, and that they should behave better. If you are one of those, be better than you were today, tomorrow. If you are supporting in any way one of those, use something subliminal to wake them up, because you ain't doing anybody any favors. Until next time, Issues with Toddie One Skip. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to my podcast if you'd like to hear more. And if you have any idea of topics, send me some information about what you want me to talk about, and I'll think about it.